Hi! Okay, this is such a bad angle. I'm sitting in front of a school and I don't have. I burned my hand. I haven't posted in a little bit because I can't see anything. My phone's cracked. My screen protector's cracked. But I have a bit of time and I haven't posted in a while because I've been sick. And I just, you know, just life. Okay. Anyway, I wanted to tell everybody. Not even. What am I doing? I have like 3 viewers on a regular basis. But anyway, story time of how I started wearing hijab. This fan is annoying. So not necessarily but my whole experience. Not my whole, but my experience in general of wearing hijab. So after I became mukallaf, I was in grade 5, and I told my mom that I really, really, really wanted to start wearing hijab. I felt it was the right thing for me to do. I was 10, turning 11 years old at the time, and it felt right to me at that point in time to just make that decision. And bear in mind, I grew up with a lot of Muslim women around me that always wore their hijab and always like did it, so well. So I would say good influence around me. So my parents in general never forced me. They were never like, okay, you guys have to da 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 da. I just felt it was the right thing for me to do at that point in time. And so my mom wrote, and it took her long, to be honest, it took my mom actually a decent amount of time to actually write this letter, because I don't go to a Muslim school. So you had to write the letter to a principal so that you can make adjustments, obviously, now to your uniform. By the way, I'm from South Africa, so we all wear uniform in our public schools. And our uniform for the girls, was a dress with either jersey and or blazer. And so obviously I needed a pants under my dress, and I needed for my scarf and stuff. My mom wrote the letter, and I gave it to my teacher. She took a while. When I say she took a while, she took like 2 weeks, and I begged her. I solidly begged her. I was like, Mommy, when you gonna write the letter? Mommy, when you gonna write the letter? Mommy, when you gonna write the letter? Eventually she wrote the letter explaining everything. One of the things she said, not that she was wrong in doing it, but it kind of backfired on me in high school. But anyway, she wrote in the letter, Anisa has reached the stage of becoming, in our religion, a young woman, and so she has decided to now I don't know what she completely wrote, but something along the lines of like she wants to wear scarf and pants, and there's certain rulings that she's gonna be compulsory upon her and whatever. So wrote the letter to technically the principal of the school, but I gave it to my teacher. My teacher gave it to the principal. The next morning, I got a letter from the principal in a sealed envelope with the school. So I'm like, I've never seen anything like this kind of letter before. So clearly it was like really official. I believe my mom had to go for a meeting. No, in the letter stipulated what I had to do so that what I'm wearing will be in line with uniform, because it needed to also be like the same color scheme and whatever. And bear in mind, it's not like my school now made dresses for girls. And plus it was a primary school. It was a primary school that didn't have pants for boys. So if I'm sweating, I'm so sorry, guys. So I came home with the letter, and the letter basically said it's more than welcome, and we want to, encourage, freedom and blah, blah, blah. And so my mom was like, for now, I didn't have a pants. We didn't know if we were going to get a yes. And my mom was also hesitant because she was worried about bullying and, that people were going to treat me differently. I was going to go from Anisa to Anisa, the Muslim girl, which kind of did happen over time. And so we ended up I had a blue scarf already that matched close enough to my uniform. I don't know if there was a meeting. I honestly don't know what the background was with the school environment itself, with the principal and the departments and whatever. I don't know. All I know is that when we got the letter back, they said that I needed to wear either navy blue or blue as the color of my uniform scarf, and it had to be a light blue pants. And I didn't have a pants because there was no such thing as a light blue pants, like this kind of light blue pants. No, there was. So my mom had to make it. My mom, she sewed my pants for school. And I had this light blue scarf, and then I had to get navy blue scarves. Not navy blue scarves, navy blue burkas, because it made it easier for school than to have a scarf on your head and something that'll pin off and stuff. I must actually insert photos of my uniform one day. And so when I changed, a lot of people were like, oh my word, who are you now? You know, a lot of questions that oh Anissa, why are you like dressing like this and da 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 da. And it started off with like a lot of curiosity. Wait, my scare is coming out. So where was I? It's really getting hot in this car. It started off most of the year. Not most of the year. It started off with a lot of curiosity. Why do you wear pants? Why do you wear scarf? What is your religion? And you know, I received a lot of curiosity for the first few months, and then eventually the curiosity as a whole died down to basically nothing. It was just like, oh, there's Anissa, you know. And then after a while, like newer teachers would come and ask questions and so on. Every now and then, from a different grade or a different person that came, they would ask questions. Why are you dressed like that? Because I was literally the only one in the school of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of students dressed like this. And it was initially a very easy transition for me to be the only one, because it was met with curiosity. It wasn't met with hate. It wasn't met with animosity. There was like no difficulty for me per se. And then the following year, I don't know what changed in the atmosphere. I don't know what. I'm not saying this that it was because I was wearing scarf. I'm not saying it's because of any other reason, but there was some sort of change in the atmosphere when I got to grade 6. And it was a constant thing of, why are you different? Why are you different? Why are you acting different? Why couldn't you just be like everybody else? And it would be the smallest of things. They would say, you're so lucky, you get to wear pants in winter. Like those kinds of things. And I'm like, but I suffer in summer, you know, because it's this heavy polyester material that you wear every single day. But obviously over time I got used to it, to wear this much uniform. But beyond that, people didn't realize the way they were questioning me started going from curiosity to just being like, man, just go back to normal kind of thing. And one teacher in particular, which happened to be my base teacher, she also started treating me very differently after I started dressing this way. And she always made me feel a little bit out, like I was very different in my class. I felt very out, and I felt very much singled out in her class. And obviously, because you're Muslim, there's certain things that you can't do. There's certain things that, you know, you just can't be a part of. So until grade 6, before grade 6, either my brother was in a higher grade, so he was responsible for raffles. But Islamically, we never did raffles, because our raffles were, you buy a ticket in case you want to win something, and we wouldn't. My parents were very big on, you don't play games of chance. And so what they would do is they would like pay for a charity, be like, what charity is for, we'll just pay directly for the charity, but we won't take part now in obviously the raffle. And so by the time I got to grade 6, my brother's not there now for the first year and whatever. And so this particular teacher, my mom wrote this letter explaining again for the 100th time that, yo, Anissa is not going to do this raffle because of ABC. And I remember she came to come to sit by me by my desk, and she says, you know, Anissa, I went to go ask this Indian teacher, who's, I believe, Christian, but she's Indian. And now because I wear hijab and whatever, I became Indian, which was very odd to me. And she was like, I went to this teacher and I asked her, and she said there was no such thing, and I've never heard of such a thing, and and she was like, we had such a big laugh about it, and you know, I think at the end of the day you still need to pay for it. So I was like, okay. Went home, told my mom. That was the first incident. If I remember correctly, that was the first incident. Second incident, we in technology class, and this girl that's sitting next to me is being so dramatic about the sound of me coloring. We had to color this picture in whatever it was for technology, or something to do with a pencil or pen. And she kept saying that my pencil or pen was making too much noise for her. They can't color quietly, or can't I write quietly, whatever the case was. And bear in mind, during this time, I'm going to see my school counselor, which is a whole other story. And so I still have an issue with my anger, but I went there for multiple reasons. But for my anger in particular, she was like, the minute you get angry, write it down. Just like write it down, so you immediately get it out and you're not frustrated and you don't take it out on anyone. So I was like, okay. So I grabbed a piece of paper and I'm like, why is this child being so dramatic? Right? Take it. And she's like, okay, just rip it up and like throw away those negative feelings. So I took it and I rip it up and throw away the feelings. And this girl comes out and she's like, Anissa called me a bee. I'm not gonna swear. She called me a bee. And I was like, dude, I never called you a female dog. Not once did I call you a female dog. And so she now says to a girl, we like in rows. We in, say, the second row. And then in the 5th row, she tells a girl, one of her friends. We in the second row, so it's second, third. In the 4th row, she's like, I don't know what this girl named me. I can't even remember. The people from school. She tells the guy, she's like, Anissa called me a female dog. Anissa called me a female dog. I'm like, I never called you one. Left it, ignored it, didn't say anything to anybody. Break time, they're going out, telling everybody in the class, Anissa called me a female dog. Anissa, there's no proof of me calling her a female dog. I've never called. I said she was dramatic in this thing. But now she obviously didn't know it. I threw it away. I ripped it up. It was none of her business. Anyway, so no one else saw it. Not a single other person saw it. Not a single other person even heard me say the word. And so she obviously I told the whole class, and then the whole class told my class teacher Anissa called her a bee. And we all saw her write the word B-I-T-C-H. And I was like, what? And then this teacher stands in front of the class. She's like, Anissa, I need to speak to you. And I think, okay, I'm going to get up and I'm going to go speak to her privately. No, in front of the whole class. And she's like, I hear from everybody here that you have called somebody a bad word. And I'm like, I never. She's like, no. You said it. Everybody said they heard you. Bro, when she said it, I was like, heard me? How did you hear me? I didn't say anything. I'm like, ma'am, what about myself? She's like, no. There's a lot of witnesses to say that they saw you and heard you. And I was like, bear in mind, there was a teacher in this class. There was a teacher in this class. And they didn't go to this teacher that was in the class at the moment in time. During she's like, you're going to get demoted for swearing. And I was like, but not once did I swear. Not once. That's the second incident. Third incident, I was standing in the passage and I tended to zone out because I had no friends in this class now, because I was not like them. I was not like a single person in this class. I was completely isolated. I was by myself. I was lonely in this classroom. And this particular day, we're standing in lines to lead into class, and I'm zoned out. I'm not paying attention. I'm waiting for a signal from the corner of my eye that's facing now on the other side. I'm like looking that way, looking down at the floor, like waiting for that teacher to be like, okay, you guys can line in. And I'm just, in my own world, like I'm solidly in my own world. And I don't know what happened. I honestly do not know what happened to lead to this. And I just feel this teacher's hand come across my face. Now, bear in mind, I kind of want to cover up for her and be like, okay, maybe, she didn't mean to do it. All I know is I wasn't paying attention, so it felt decently hard to me, right? And so I just like looked at her, and then I turned around and I was like, you know what, leave it. I tell my mom what happens. She writes this long letter to the teacher about how upset she is with this woman and blah 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 blah. There's another incident that I'm not going to talk about. And so she this wrong letter explaining how she's really upset and how she's treating me, she doesn't like it and all of that. She takes the letter, she reads the letter, and then she comes to me and she was like, when did I hit you? And I was like, the day I was standing in the passage, I was looking down and I just felt your hand across my face. That's all I know. That's all I know. She's like, but wasn't I doing it to other students also? Like, I was just playing with you guys. And I was like, I personally didn't see you do it to anybody else because I was looking down. Now, if you were just out here just tapping people on the face, I didn't see that. I don't know about that. I know nothing about that. All I know is I was looking down, not at you, not in that direction to the right of me. I was looking down to the left of me, waiting for that lady with her white shoes on to start walking into class so that I could also walk into class. That's all I know. I did not see you come here and be like, we're out here playing slap in the face. I didn't see that. So she was like, but I was playing with you guys and I was doing it to this one and that one and they never got hurt and they never complained. I'm like, I'm just telling you that I didn't expect it and it hurt me. I didn't know you were doing it. I didn't see you doing it to other people. Well, you might have been. Maybe you were playing, but it hurt me. Okay? And she was like, when I told you about like the whole raffle thing, I was just joking and da 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 da. So she tried to justify this whole thing. She never wrote a letter back to my mom. Bear in mind, teachers didn't have WhatsApp numbers and things like that when I was in school. So my mom's like, did you write back? And she was like, no, she never said anything. My mom got back into the car. She went straight to the principal and she had a whole tirade there, shouting and screaming. The next day, I have to go to the principal and explain everything that's happened and whatever, and go on, and then he would come and sit into a few classes and whatever. Not sit in, but he would come and I would see him like look past, and it was a whole thing. That year was just horrible for me. Horrible. I remember people would like say things about, and people in my class mainly thinking that I was different and special, and anything I did was slip. It was never like that. It just like changed, and I don't know what I did or what it was that made them that way. And then when I got to grade 7, it was a whole other ball game, because it started off really well. I got out of that dark place of where I was with this teacher, with these students, with not a whole different class, but a different classes in general, with a different teacher. And it started okay. I was with different friends and things were okay. It started off okay. And then the one day in art class, there's a few reasons behind a few different bullies. This was the year of solid kid bullies, and I was just, I don't know how to explain it. It was just a lot to take in. The one girl I was friends with, she was the maths teacher's daughter, and the maths teacher really liked me for one reason or other and really wanted us to always be friends. So she always like was very very on board with us being friends and always wanting us to spend time together. But there was another girl in the class that she didn't like, and she didn't want her daughter being friends with her, so she ended up always being like she's a bad influence and blah 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 blah. So she already had quite a decent amount of animosity towards me, because she, I don't know, felt like I was taking her friend away from her, even though I wasn't really interested in taking anyone's friends. Well, if you want to be friends with people, be friends with people. It's not my place to be like, don't be friends. And then the one day in our class, we sitting there, and kids started making this gagging noise about vomiting, and I was like, guys, don't, you know, it's a very gross sound. I didn't like it. I didn't like the sound of it. And I'm like, I was worse with my weak stomach back then. I was like, guys, you guys are making me feel so sick, like, stop. And because kids are mean, when you tell them don't do something, it's making you da 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 da, they carry on doing it, and now it's a joke. It's the funniest thing to do to them, to just out here make that sound, right? So it started off with that. Then it went on to people being like, oh, look at Anissa, she's wearing a scarf, da 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 da, when you gonna take it off, when you gonna take it off? And people trying to pull my scarf off. There was this one girl in particular, she threw her sharpenings on me, and it was the biggest joke to her, making fun of the way I dress and making fun of the religion in itself, saying, oh, what you gonna do? What you gonna do about me teasing you? What you gonna do about me saying this about you? What you gonna do? You're gonna go to mosque? You're gonna go mosque? What you gonna go do at mosque? You're gonna ask Muhammad to stop me? You're gonna ask Muhammad to stop me? Is Muhammad gonna come down from heaven and protect you? Like, they would say these things to me. And I remember the one day I'm walking out of the school building, and this girl's following me, and she's like, oh, look at you wearing your scarf and thinking you're better than everybody else and all of this stuff. And she's following me, and I'm like, just leave me alone. And then she pulls the back of my scarf, and it comes down, and she was like, what you gonna do now? What you gonna do now? Are you gonna ask for help? Are you gonna ask for help from Muhammad? Is Muhammad gonna stop me? You think I'm scared of Muhammad? And I'm like, I can't believe I'm going through this. I can't believe it. And then I carry on walking, and I'm like, do you know what? Just don't. It's words, you know? It's just words. It's not bullying. Well, bullying is when someone hits you. And it kept going on, and they would follow me around the school doing this and taunting me and throwing sharpenings at me and throwing things on the floor and trying to blame me for things. And it got to the point that the one day a teacher saw me, and she was like, what's going on? And I was like, they targeting my religion, and they're throwing things at me, and they're making this gagging noise. We ended up going to the principal, and the principal being like, aren't they just being curious? And that's why they're asking you these questions about religion and stuff. I'm like, no, curiosity is not you throwing sharpenings at me and being like, oh, what you're gonna do is Muhammad gonna save you. So it happened for a while, probably like a month, I think. I don't know how long actually lasted. And it was not it was not the nicest thing to go through. I felt very, very small. I felt very, very horrible. And when I got to high school, it changed completely. People were curious again. And I was so scared that that curiosity was going to turn into, oh, Anissa's different, da 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 da. But what happened was, instead of that happening, the kids that I went to school with, my mom wrote now in this letter, I'm going to be specific, I'm going back to this letter, and she wrote, Anissa is a young lady now, and religiously she cannot sit next to boys, right? But when I got now to high school, I gravitated towards having more guy friends than having girlfriends. I think it had to do with the fact that a lot of the incidents in primary school happened to be with guys. Mainly had to do with the guys, not the guys, the girls. And so when I got to high school, I just ended up those were the people that I would speak to. Those were the people I would, spend my breaks with and stuff. And because of that, people from my primary school were like, oh, you said in primary school that you can't sit next to boys. And I'm like, technically, yes. I still cannot sit next to boys. What I'm doing is not 100% permissible. Or at all permissible. Let's be honest, it's not permissible for a Muslim girl to sit next to a Muslim boy. And it was something that I still ended up doing because I just didn't want to really have friends that were girls. I had like a few. I ended up, as we got to the end of high school, I had a few, and I would spend more time with them and I would sit with them and whatever. But it started off me being friends with the guys, and it wasn't like I wasn't out here playing soccer with them. No, I would sit on the bench and watch, that kind of thing. Or during class, I would sit and I would talk to them, but I would never, all in all, just be with the girls. I didn't want to. I was too afraid of cattiness. I was too afraid of being bullied. And the guys were cool. The guys were like, if a girl came up to me and she was like, oh, you look ugly, and they'll be like, you look fat. No body shaming. Like, people shouldn't body shame, but like, you know what I mean? Like, if someone was out here getting at me, then the guys would, like, be on my side. I never had to protect myself anymore. I never had to worry about that. And so I stuck to them like glue. And unfortunately, the people from my primary school were now at my throat for whenever they saw me, like, oh, so you're not better than everybody else, you're just like everybody else, but you wanted to be better, and they came up with a lot of things that, at the end of the day, really hurt me. And I didn't speak on it. I was never like, I never rectified them out. The minute these kids from school would say anything to me about whatever rulings were, I don't know, it just, people are staring at me. It's starting to get difficult to tell the story, but it would hit home a bit. And after a while, they stopped and they just didn't care about me, and I was so happy not being cared about. I spent more time in the library with one of my friends, and think that's what would happen. And I spend more time with people that I would have never spent time with when I was in primary school. I didn't care about being in the in crowd. I didn't care about popularity. I didn't care about whether people liked me or didn't like me, whether people knew me or didn't know me. I didn't even know half my grade. I didn't even know close to anybody. I knew my friends. I knew who I could lean on. I knew I could trust. I knew the people that I spent time with. And I had friends now that would stand up for me, and it was such an amazing feeling. If someone came and they tried to touch my scarf, they'd be like, no, don't touch her like that. And or if someone would be like, oh, it's so weird that you can't eat pork, they'd be like, it's so weird that you can't eat peanuts. Weird things they would say, but they would always protect me without me needing to protect myself. And I loved that about my high school friends. They were such amazing people. Or even if like they had to cater food for people and stuff, they would be like, oh, but Anissa eats halal food only. We need to get Nisa this, and we need to get Nisa that. And they were such amazing people and such caring people. Yes, we had our fights, and no one always 100% gets along, and we always have issues. But there was some, when I think about how there was such a support with regards to my religion. And they never judged me about my religion. They never judged me about the mistakes I made in my own religion. They never bashed me for any reason. They always had questions, and they were openly like asking them, but never in a judgmental way, like, oh, we're asking to make you feel small. It was such a good experience. I'm gonna be honest about what high school I went to. No, I'm not. My high school and primary school, I'm gonna keep to myself. If you know me, you know me. If you don't know me, you don't know me. But the friends that I had in high school was so amazing with regards to that. I will never ever forget that. And it was one of the things that really picked me up. It took a while. It took a long while, like literally until the end of matric, for me to get picked up. And only even after high school, it was me thinking back on it that helped pick me up about it. And I'm not great or amazing or wonderful about my hijab. Like, I am still going through my learning of it, I guess you can put it in that way. And I hopefully, inshallah, will get so much better at it, and I will be so much more strict with it. But I will get there, and I'm trying all the time, and I will be there someday, inshallah. But that's my all in all overall. Obviously, after high school, things were different because there was no such thing as uniform, and I went on to online varsity. I did correspondence, and so I didn't, need to worry about whether or not I was wearing hijab or not, because I was at home, and so things were a lot different back then. And back then, yeah, I say back then, wasn't that long ago, but yeah. So that's my whole story of my hijab life.